Good morning, New Eden. Today is November 5th, 2023, and this is the Federation Frontline Report. My name is Frozen Fallout. I will be your host today, and we've got a very special interview with Drechlas. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. How's space been treating you?
Well, not too much, since it's been a little while since I've been roaming New Eden itself. But before that, pretty well. I can't complain.
When was the last time that you played?
The last time I logged in, oh my god, that's pre-COVID, I think.
Oh wow. Okay, so you didn't get the temptation during COVID, huh?
I had too much work.
Too much work. Wow. Well, not everybody.
Not everybody had that luxury.
Let's the luxury of work, you know.
Yeah.
So what interesting times that we live in today.
Yeah, that they are.
So tell me, what was the thing that got you into Eve, and what timeline was that? Where on the great sacred timeline do we fall here?
The very first time I installed Eve Online was back in 2003.
Okay,
that
so
was
the beta.
During beta.
Okay, so
that was beta time.
Nice.
That was I think it was an open beta stage, something like that. And I remember sitting at home at my parents', because I didn't have my own PC, sitting at home at my parents' PC and then booting up the game for the very first time, going through this very lengthy character creation process. And then you've got a 2D print, like this little ID card picture. I'm like, okay, that was a waste of time, but whatever. As it has been since until I don't know what the new player experience is nowadays, but you get this noob ship. You get yourself a little civilian miner module and civilian gun, and it's like, yeah, there you go, have fun.
Yeah, they really just in the beginning, because I was actually part of the beta as well. I don't know how much of a footprint that you left in the beta, but mine was one of the
very small.
Mine was very tiny. I popped in, like you said, they just give you the noob ship, they kick you out, and they're like, go, do stuff. And it was, you didn't have like the career, like there are career agents now and stuff like that they didn't have a tutorial. They just popped you in and they were like, you are in outer space, you can go to a didn't even tell you can go to a station. It just was like kind of implied that you can go to stations and stargates and jump through them and go around and do stuff. They did have missions, I think. Still, that was I don't even think I got to the point of even finding like a mission. I think I went and like mined a rock and tried to shoot some like NPC frigate that I couldn't kill or something like that in the beginning.
Well, you got further than I got. Like my first idea was like, okay, let's go and mine so I can make money, because that was my focus.
Right, yeah.
Money so I can buy the big ship, like the big ship.
Yeah, the battleship.
Everybody thinks, everybody thinks like the bigger the ship.
Oh yeah, the better, man. Oh yeah, absolutely. When I was running level 3 missions and I could get in my Dami, I couldn't even use medium guns, but I could fly a Dami, and I just put small guns on it. It was like, this has got more HP.
And that's better.
That's better.
So, yeah, that's like how you get into the game. So I'm there, warping off to some asteroid belt. Not really knowing what I have to do, but I succeed in like going to the asteroid belt, finding an asteroid, locking onto it, and shoot some mining lasers at it. And it took about a minute and a half, and I got ganked for the first time.
Wow.
And I was sitting at my desk. I was like, okay, fuck this shit. This is not for me. That was my introduction to EVE Online. That was the very, very first time. So yeah, that didn't play out well. So I uninstalled and went on with my life for a couple of years. When in and then I actually in real life moved to another country for work, and put in a lot of hours over there, so I didn't really have time to do some online gaming and things like that. Besides some, well, Chill Anarchy Online that I used to play as well. Then came back a second time, and that was about 2007-ish, I think.
Yep.
I actually went through the tribe period. That was the time that you still had to, well, it's been longer than that, but you still had to train your intelligence,
your learning
the learning skills.
Yep.
Like, they were so dumb.
Yeah, that was probably one of the worst implementations of an idea of like, oh, let's create a skill that makes it better for you to learn. So it's like the first thing that you came into the game was like, spend the next 3 months just learning these 5 skills, and then that will make it so that you can learn everything else faster. I remember training them to like 3 or 4 and actually not doing all of them all the way at the beginning, and it took me like about like 6 months probably into the game, and this was when I started in 2006. So when I started with Frozen, which is Frozen's birthday is like really soon here,
coming up.
It's
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So it'll be
17 years.
Yeah, it would be 17 years. 17
almost
years.
An adult. So
yeah. I mean,
in Belgium it's already legal to drink. So
wow.
You're in the United States, so you're
United States.
So you have to wait another 4 years.
4 years, man. What the hell? Oh man, yeah. And the learning skill thing was really just a stupid implementation. But luckily they got rid of that. And
I got a bunch of skill points back from that one.
Me too.
Eventually.
Me too. I liked that. That was there's been a lot of really good, crazy changes. I mean, EVE is evolved so much in the last 20 years. Like
they had to, like, if you look at EVE way back when, like, the thing that I love about EVE, because even though I don't actively play it right now, I still follow it from a distance, and I still love it like wholeheartedly. And the thing is that the community has been pushing CCP games from day one to further the product, and we've been so demanding of them. And the good thing is that most of the times they actually delivered. Like, there are some spats left and right, but like every good marriage has them.
Yeah, this is I mean, commonly known as like the mistress of many wives out there, where they're like, you've got like and many husbands as well, I should say, and just have it's beautiful, kind of like sucks you in. Like you said that like you don't play right now, but you still are, like, I'm guessing you reading Reddit, maybe you have like a news site that you go to.
I'll follow up on Reddit, but I still have a lot of contact with people that actually play the game, and we just chat like on Discord or whatever. So I reach out to some buddies, and I try to go to gatherings. Like, if there's something near me, then that's usually where you can find me.
Wow, and that's where I met you, was at FanFest. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I always found it interesting how many people at FanFest were like, I haven't played in 3 to 4 years. I feel like this is one of the only games that I've ever experienced, the only game that probably comes close to this game was Ultima Online. I don't know if you were familiar with that game.
I am familiar with it.
So I played that, but leading up to the days of its shutdown, I got in really late into it, so I didn't get to see the one world PvP that they had created that is much closer to what Eve is. I played in the where you could split world, but the only place I could find where I could throw it on a house was in PvP land. So I got to learn about PvP land and stuff like that.
There you go.
You know, I had a lot of fun, but even that game though kind of had a weird history of like some crazy events that kind of happened, some player made wars and stuff like that, but it was much earlier at the advent of mass internet accessibility and MMORPGs that it didn't have like the news and stuff like that. Like Eve has news, like talking about the player actions that are happening inside of the game. I can't think of any other game out there that has news outlets. Like I'm a news outlet that my podcast is a news outlet for this game. To
be fair, there was a game, and I have to say was because it's not operating anymore, an MMO game that actually had news as well, predating EVE Online.
Oh, really? Which one was that?
That was Neocron.
Neocron! I know exactly what you're talking about. I know. I played that. It's a first person.
Did you? First
cyberpunk
shooter.
Yep, that
MMORPG.
That was because that's when we were really into back in that was like 2002 or something like that, right?
Yep. Exactly.
That was when we were really into going around and finding. That's how we kind of found out about Eve.
Which faction were you with?
Oh man. If you could name them off, I could maybe remember.
You've got Tangent. You've got the Fallen Angels. EVE. They were like center map. You've had the Mercs sitting on the left top of the map. Then you've got, oh my god. Oh, this is so long ago because
Fallen
this is literally
Angel
20 years.
Sounds about right, but yeah, exactly. It's I mean, I do remember that game because I remember me and my buddies getting into it. We tried to save up to get
Which server did you play?
I have no idea which server to be honest.
There were planet names.
Oh, not sure. I have a very strong memory of us because we were always looking for the new like MMO that's coming out because Ultima Online was dying at that point.
Yeah,
and
it was.
And so it was, it was like, okay, we got to find a new MMORPG that's out there because my friends were all playing this Ultima Online, so I started playing on that, and man, that brings back so many memories, man. Wow.
Do you remember the Neocron magazine, Nima?
No, I don't think so.
They had PDF magazines that ran monthly with news from the city.
Okay.
And all that stuff.
Interesting.
I was actually...
So was this during the time that it actually... Because they went live. I only played in the beta. I never played in the actual live game. We played a shit ton inside of the beta, though. It was a lot of fun. You could get motorcycles and stuff like that, right? And tanks and stuff. That was... that game was so far ahead of its time. So far ahead of its time.
Like, were you very active on the forums?
No,
because that's way back when with the forums.
That would have been just before I started doing forum stuff. And
yeah, you missed out.
Yeah, I did.
So,
go ahead.
So my nickname here on Discord is actually my forum name within Neocron.
Slippy.
And Slippy. And I actually was the editor-in-chief of said magazine. And when I told you I was working abroad after trying the EVE Online beta, I actually went and worked for Reactor Media. I actually worked on Neocron and its subsequent Neocron 2 game.
Yes.
So,
I remember hearing about Neocron 2 when it came out.
Yeah, which was basically the same engine but some revamped engine. Let's call it that way, and some new DirectX version supports that we built in. So yeah, that's what I actually did.
Wow, that's awesome! Colliding of worlds, man.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I was so interested with you saying, "Oh, Neocron, I know about it," because a lot of people just don't. Like, there's Evil Line players now that weren't even born when that game was out.
Yes, yeah. It's
so
it's so interesting when people are like, "Yeah, 2004," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, like 5 years ago, right?" No, wait a minute.
A bit longer now.
A bit longer now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's an amazing tangent. But we were at the second time. So then the second time I went into Evil Line, I held out for the 14-day trial.
And yes. Yep. They had, I believe, at that time.
And then stopped playing. Yeah. I just it didn't catch me. But speaking of my Neocron days, there's this group, and they still exist as a group. We're still on Discord together. They were called the Shattered Star Exiles, and they were a group from within Neocron that I knew, and they also had some people playing Evil Line. And eventually, in 2010, in January, like during the Christmas holidays, basically, I made the decision to like, yeah, I'm gonna start again. I'll fly with you guys. So early January, I created my toon, and yeah, been hooked. Like I played massive amounts of time ever since that beginning.
What was some of the first activities that you kind of really got into that, besides like the standard mining and mission running? What was the thing that got you really passionate about the game?
Well, the thing is, like, in the beginning it was pretty boring because a new toon, you had to do the learning skills still. Like early 2010, they were still existing. I think they removed them in 2012-ish.
Sounds about right.
If memory serves me correctly, it's around that time. And so I was still doing that. I had one of my buddies that I knew from that group said, like, yeah, here's 100 mil. Just here, he was my sugar daddy, basically. It's like, here's some cash. Just go buy some shit and fly and explode and go have some fun. But I was very risk averse, just floating around in like a high sec space, just really exploring and finding my footing around the world, like knowing how to navigate between the several systems and not get lost within them. Because as I remembered, even that was daunting for me at that time. It was like, yeah, how do I get from A to B? You've got this little route thingy that helps you to just go from A to B-ish, but it doesn't care whether people died on the route and stuff like that, or at least it didn't back then.
No, yeah, so, now it kind of is a little bit better about that stuff. You can do some avoiding of certain things, but the back in the day, like it. Now I'm not 100% sure about this, but I feel like you might not have even got a warning about going into low sec. But maybe I'm thinking of farther back, or
I know there was one when you entered null.
Definitely when you definitely entered null. I know that low sec might have been one that I know there's a warning for that, but it feels like there's possibilities of like just going to low sec. Like, was not, you didn't think about like, oh, this is going to be super dangerous. Like,
so
why would anybody shoot me? You know, like,
yeah, I'm a nobody. Nobody cares who I am. You know, that's exactly the idea that I had, and with the money that I got from my buddy, I actually I bought a +5 imps, a whole set. because I was doing my learning skills, I wanted to have them done as fast as possible. So, yeah, that's 100 mil spent very quickly, and those imps I got potted, so they were gone. I was like, oh man,
the devastating loss in this game, man.
Like, oh man, yeah, I was so ashamed. I thought about, oh man, I lost everything. It's like, don't care. Here's another 100 mil. Go have fun. I'm like, what? So I couldn't grasp that. I was like, how come you're so damn rich? Like, yeah, we're living in wormhole space. There's plenty of money. We can basically print our money over here. So they were set up pretty well in wormhole space, but I never actually got into wormhole space at that time because they decided to join the Space Monkeys Alliance.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with Space Monkeys. I'm actually my co-host that is not here right now, but Samson used to be, I believe, in Space Monkeys Alliance. Also, shout out to my other co-host, Night Flyer, who has subscribed for 16 months in a row. You rock, man. Thank you. All the love.
That's cool. So, yeah, those days were those were the good days. Like in the beginning, like Space Monkeys were just a shit tier alliance, which was great. Like we had our little pocket in how's it called, in Fate, I believe it was. So yeah, we were happy, and we were I think at first we were aligned with NC Dot, and then they left us to die, and Space Monkeys Alliance joined the Goon Blob.
Yeah, the Clusterfuck Coalition.
Yeah, the CFC.
CFC, yeah. I remember the CFC very well.
And by that time, I started my second toon already. Like within a year, I started up a second toon. Later on, I reactivated my my toon from 2007-ish that I did the trial with, and I used him as a high-sec mission runner.
Okay, yep.
So I could make some money, and then I did my Alliance stuff with my two other toons, which was mining for the Alliance, go on fleets, just try to get something that fitted me. And
so did you prefer making money at that time in high sec over 0.0?
Yes. I like the mission running thing was actually a very good gig at the time. You could make good money of it, especially with level 4 agents.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped doing it once.
So was this before the anomaly change? Because I know, so when I first started in 2006, or when I really got started would be 2006, and made Frozen Fallout, you know, I did the mission running up to, like, we were doing level 4s, but they were pretty rough to do, so we were messing around with even, like, setting up in low sec and stuff like that. But when I went out to 0.0, it was belt ratting. That was the way to make money, and it was a lot easier to do than level 4 missions. Like, level 4 missions, like, most of them are pretty fucking easy, and now I think with the micro jump drive, where you can just jump out 100 kilometers away from an enemy, makes them really, really simple. So this would be before jump drives. There's the micro jump
that
drive.
Was before. That
And
was
then this
before
was
the micro jump drive.
Was this at the point where you could go to all the anomalies that just kept on respawning? I'm trying to remember if 2012 was would have been right around that time when I feel like they started coming out with the 0.0 upgrades that you could do, and you could get actual a huge amount of money from doing the anomalies. Was it, I guess my question comes down to, was it more around the idea of that it wasn't that you couldn't make money out in 0.0, it just was more relaxed to do
exactly
money making in
like,
high sec?
I could do money making in high sec while being on a fleet in null.
But you could, if you did that in 0.0, you would have to then divide your attention for real. Because NPCs, you can kind of ignore, or you can. It's high sec, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're not staring at local, if you're running in 0.0, then you're gonna get ganked. So
yeah. In the end, I got baited and I took it. So I lost. I was using a ham goo, like a Tengu with hams.
Yep.
I was running the agent missions, and then I was contracting the bookmarks. So some other group was doing the cleanup, which suited me fine. So, and then I just got a payout of, this is what we made of your loot. So that's your cut, and the rest is for them. I was like, yeah, sure. So I just went for the direct money, and then I had a cut of whatever loot was left there. They could have it. I didn't really care about the loot. I just wanted to recycle that stuff as soon as possible.
Yeah, a lot of the times my loot would just go unpicked because it was faster to just run through the mission and just kill more and get bounties than it was to spend time cleaning it up. Where I find that an interesting thing that there is a profession in EVE called the salvager, the guy who just goes around and just sucks up all the wrecks and all the loots. They'll do it. The 0.0 has it. Mission running has it.
And it was a whole corp. And they worked fast as well. So wherever my mission was, those guys were around to just scoop it up. It never took long. So I was so amazed by that. I was like, people are having fun this way, like going around and
built around it.
Yeah, and I thought that was amazing. So yeah, with the Space Monkeys, we've been on a couple of wars with the goons because they were pretty hungry for territory. Let's just put it that way.
Oh yeah, I'm listening to Empires of Eve 2 right now. I don't know if you're familiar with Empires of Eve, the history books that have been created.
I haven't read them. I think I bought the audiobook, but I haven't listened through it completely yet.
So they just released the second audiobook for it. I've been super anticipating or just waiting for this to come out because I knew that if you were a backer, you had already got the audio version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought the book, but I didn't do the backing for it. I really kicked myself for a long time, being like, God damn it! If there's a number 3 coming out, I'm backing that. Probably top tier level. No, but the history of that time period, because that would have been when they were in the north with the Declan Coalition and the Northern Coalition versus NC Dot, Pandemic Legion, and there was they were actually having problems with the Russians during that time as well.
Well, we didn't really have problems with the Russians. The Russians had problems with us. So I remember vividly because that was my first big war in EVE Online, and that was against Solar Fleet.
Yep, DFR. I'm in. That's where I'm right at in the. Or actually, I think we just finished that chapter for the second book, and so I'm very versed in this specific war right now.
That was the time of the Drake fleet with the goons. Drakes were the meta, and that's where the current joke from "Can I bring my Drake" actually comes from. It's from that particular war, because we used about, and this was every night, we had 5 to 7 full Drake fleets going around burning up their shit. And we burned through that so fast. We actually, I was just a line monkey. But hearing the stories after, it wasn't anticipated that the Russians would burn down so easily. So,
so you're talking about the
Solar Fleet guys.
Well, right, with the but White Noise was also a big part of that war too,
mm-hmm.
right? They were just talking about this on the book, or I was just listening to this about this conflict in the book. Prior to that, though, there was a bunch of space that the Northern Coalition had that the Russians had burned through at that time. So they had come in, they had burnt up a bunch of the Northern Coalition's eastern allies and had kicked them out of like anything that was touching the drone region. So I think Branch and stuff like that all got like burned. And
we got Branch straight after that.
But then that's when what you're talking about is the pushback that came when the Drechlas Coalition and the Clusterfuck Coalition kind of was like getting formed, because that was after like the true fall of the Northern Coalition, which the Goons and
Goons were actually adversaries then.
Of the
Northern Coalition.
Well, Northern Coalition they were enemies with and stuff like that. But there was an organization called the Northern Coalition for like a really long time, and it died right at that time period. Goons were kind of allied with them, but it wasn't. They were and kind of part of it, but they were like the Drechlas Coalition of the Northern Coalition. But anyway, so that all died off.
That's the moment I talked. That's the moment I talked about. That's the moment that SMA decided to go with Goons, because NC, like the Northern Coalition that was before, they just left us burning, and Goons being in Drechlas, which was pretty close to our space pocket, they came to our aid, and they took us under their wing.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a really fun time period.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, it was amazing. And SMA actually moved up to Branch for a while. I remember like some shit going down. There is a certain person who lives, and I'm not shitting you, he lives less than 5 kilometers from me. So he actually stole about 60 billion NISC or something like that. Like he pulled off a nice
that's pretty good haul.
Yeah, he had a very
day, so
he got a decent haul. And somebody else whom I got closer with later on, he actually kind of doxed him. He's like, yeah, that store over there, that's where he lives. I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty close to my house. It's like the strange stories that you come across while playing this game. It's amazing.
Yeah, and Rasayos from chat says, cleaning up behind mission runners was how I made the first big ISK. And that's something that I always find interesting. What is, like we were just saying, like 60 billion. Some people would be like, that's unbelievable amount of ISK, and some other people in EVE will be like, that's, it's okay, that's not that much, like and it just blows me away.
I know people. Yeah, I know people, and I have known people to whom 60 billion ISK was pocket change.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of
crazy.
like the real world to like an extent of like we've got
your 1%ers.
Yep, we've got our 1%ers, and we definitely have different. The thing about EVE is that it is a video game. So some people take EVE as like making money is the most important thing. How much money you can make per hour in this game is the most important thing about what can be done inside of this game. But a lot of people get burnt out from that, because if your end goal is to make more money, then you have no end goal. Like you can never satisfy your goal of making more money. Like
for me the burnout with this game came from, in hindsight, is basically the soft mechanics. Because by 2018-ish, I think it was 2018 or 2017, you had the Guardians of the Galaxy. Mm-hmm. I was no longer flying with SMA. I moved on to Chaos Theory. We basically split off from SMA. There was one particular Australian who made SMA a bad place to be. And he was in a very much leadership role, and the actual active people, they got fed up with it, and we fucking bounced. We just went away. And then, as Chaos Theory, we joined the Guardians of the Galaxy in World War B and all that shit. Because it was fun, it was content. But at one point in time, we were finding some space nobody cared where. You know, it's like you get onto the game and you have to wait 45 minutes because CTA, something's going to happen. Be in fleet, blah, 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 blah. So you sit there for 45, 50 minutes just doing nothing, really. Yeah, we're busy. Yeah, sure, whatever. This is my free time, you know?
Right.
I'm not having fun right now. Then you have to haul ass to some piece of shit structure, some 40, 50 jumps out. And yeah, we fixed you some jumps, blah, blah, blah. So you jump there with some subcap fleet, get there, and some supercap fleet just jumps in, damage is maxed out, so you're not even getting on the damn kill mail. The structure is down, and then they go like, yeah, you can go home now again. And so 3 to 4 hours of your evening have passed, and the only thing you have to show for is, I was in fleet, I clicked 3 pap links,
right,
like a good little soldier I am, and that's all I had to show for it. And that was not fun, and just keep on doing that, and that grind just got me so hard. I was like, you know what, I'm not even gonna bother logging in anymore, because
I think that's like
it's just not fun.
The other aspect of that's a really good point out for burnout, because what I was talking about before was like how money was like, if your end goal is just money, but if your end goal is to like have fun in the game, that's where both chasing money and being part of basically a empire that you're serving as a soldier on can get really burn you the hell out, because there is, like you said, if fun is your goal, which is what I think everybody's goal should be fun, and then you should have specific goals that make things fun for you. But that's my problem. The same reasons that you got burnout are one of the reasons why I left 0.0. I got introduced into Goons by learning that they had parties in Madison, Wisconsin, and I was like, like I can get there. And so like I went to they had 2 parties a year that they used to have in Eve, or in Madtown, and so there was some really fun, like I was like, these guys are awesome, like it's fun there's like 40-50 of them that like came to Madison and were all just hanging out. Like you got into like the inner circle of people that you could, were high up. Like I met Mintani, I met the Big Red Boat, I've met, like a bunch of the really big named characters because of these parties, and it was really cool kind of like hanging out with them. But the slog that was the be in a fleet, get your paps, but and really you don't have to do that much of in order to like stay usually within them, but it felt like you were always constantly asked, and it felt bad to like not be part of these big giant fleets that were going on. But a lot of it was just sit around and wait, and then actually nothing happens, go home, and
exactly,
if it's so hit or miss on that, and then when you do hit, it's like 7 to 12 hours of like slow-mo, go clean your house while you wait 5 minutes for one of your weapons to cycle. That level of gameplay burnt me out of Eve as well. And that's why I took a step back, and I was like, what do I actually want to do in Eve? I was like, I've always wanted to, and I've done it a couple of times, wanted to build my own corporation, my own alliance, my own thing, but keep it in this like low-sec faction warfare arena that exists out there, because the constant there's battles on your doorstep. There is no such thing as really a CTA, maybe to save a structure. Now that we can have structures in low sec, which is really awesome. It's definitely much more of a you go out and just have fun type kind of atmosphere and stuff like that in low sec in smaller groups. We don't hit lag, we don't have time dilation that hits for our fights usually, and we do get like some
I've had some
like last night I got on a Phoenix Navy issue, a Bane, the new Tech 2 Dreadnought. I got on a kill for that. There was a bunch of initiative that were sitting around a gate with a bunch of Phoenixes, a Bane, and a Revenant Navy issue as well, I believe, and a few other things. And they were just fucking around. I think they got into a fight with Cal Mill or something like that, where they just tried dropping, they tried to drop a bunch of shit on top of it just for funsies. And so we were like, okay, well, we're watching. Everything warps away except for the Bane. So we're like, get tackle on the Bane. All right, so we've tackled the Bane. We're holding it down. They're about to come back, but we're getting like sedition into position. And we're like, okay, we're just going to drop on this guy real quick, and we're going to murder this Bane and get the fuck out. And then all of a sudden, Snuff, like, as soon as we're almost all set up to do our thing, luckily they did it before we did, because Snuff all of a sudden just drops in with a whole shitload of stuff. And it drops in with their shit, but they only had like 10 dreads or something like that, and Snuff counter dropped with like 50 dreads. So
classic.
We got the good old third party caused the fight, but Snuff came in and wiped out all of their Phoenix Navy issues and all of their Phoenixes, the Rev Navy issue, and the Bane, totaling like 50 billion ISK or something like that went down.
That's a good evening there.
Yes. So we still get the big fights, but none of that was tie-dye. None of that reached more than 50 to 60 people on even one side. And where there was about 3 sides altogether, and I think all told maybe like 100 pilots that were involved in this. And so it was spontaneous. If you weren't in fleet running around doing the things, because there's stuff to do, and that's how you make your money as well in faction warfare. So this is where all of these things kind of tied together, where what do I want to do in EVE? I want to kill people. Alright, so now that I know that, how do I go out and do this? Okay, so best thing to be in is faction warfare, so I can be in immediate combat, and make money while I'm doing my combat, have objectives for me, because if your only objective is kill, that can also get a little bit wearing, where it's like, like all you care about is your kill board going up. Then
it depends. It depends on the playstyle that you have and what you seek to get out of it. For me, like the big fights, like 6 VDT, I was there. Beta Car, I was there, and everything in between them as well. Because being a part of Goons, you get into big fights when they happen. So even though they were lagfest, like 6 VDT was a world record battle at the time with
it is
the
nice
most
to
participants.
Feel that you were there.
You were just the little cog within that thing. So for me, EVE Online got an extra dimension in 2014, which was the first year that I actually went to FanFest. And I haven't missed a single FanFest since. So
wow, okay, so you've been going for what, like
I'd say 10 years, but you had COVID and you've got 2019.
Right.
Where there wasn't a FanFest, but there was, and I actually was there. So if you look at the CCP Games videos of FanFest at home, you'll see me sitting in the sofa in Finland.
Nice.
If we go back to 14, that was pretty low key. As a little space monkey going to FanFest, I was the only one going. I met a lot of goon people. Like, I forgot his name. There was this Dutch guy. He was General something something. You had people like Camera, Faulty. You had Java something. Can't remember the rest of his Java Junk, I think. I actually met the Mitani for the first time then. So
you met him about the same time that I met him about. I think I joined Goons right around that time.
So I remember he had a great evening during the party on the top of the world, where he was actually supported by 2 other people. So he was wasted beyond. But the amazing thing with him is he can be wasted beyond, but he'll remember. I don't know how he does it.
Yes.
So he knows so much. So he's still sound enough of mind to capture the important parts. So that was my first introduction to FanFest. I was like, oh, this was awesome. Like, I really loved it. The interaction, you meet so many people, you tell your tales, and I was there, and I was there. And you get to meet so many people from so many different parts of the world. So I have a network that spans the globe just because I decided to go to FanFest. And the year after, I was actually selected to be a EVE TV player presenter.
Okay, yep.
Which was really fun to do.
That's awesome.
And that just sucks you in even more. And that's where I actually met then not CCP convict, but Bam Stoker, together with a bunch of other people. And from there on, things got rolling. And I got into, thanks to Xander Fina, who was actually a co-host that year, I got introduced to Nash Cadaver from EVE and his crew. I got introduced to Julianus Soter from Galmill.
Yep, and I was part of Valor Accords with X Meta back in the day, so yep, I know exactly who you're talking about.
So that's also how I met Naiden.
Mm-hmm.
So he was also known for his EVE art. He's not in the game anymore, and you probably won't see him in the game anymore. I actually met up with him last year, and he told me, if I start to play EVE Online again, my wife will leave me, because he's so obsessed with EVE that once he starts with it, it's all he can think about, and it fucks up his work-life balance.
Yeah,
basically.
It's definitely one of the, like, it adds an extra layer of complication, because it is, I mean, all MMOs I think have this kind of problem of people getting sucked in, but EVE can kind of be even worse, because it's like there's such a living world that's going on that you don't even need to be playing EVE to be sucked in by EVE. Like,
exactly,
you can just be reading EVE Reddit or the Imperium News or EVE 24, all these different news sites that are out there and stuff, that you're just feeding yourself, like, I just want to be, learning about what's happening in this other universe that exists in, reality and in a virtual space.
Yeah. But to me, I get the most things out of EVE from the real life interaction. And because I started to go to FanFest, I also went to Nottingham. I also went to Berlin. I think there was a G Fleet in Dusseldorf once upon a time. I went to 3 editions of Amsterdam. I also went to EVE London. Like, I actually went to those places just because I knew my EVE buddies would be around. there would be people that I know there, and I would be having fun. So, and for me, that's EVE is more real to me in that sense that I don't need my space pixels to get my friendship.
Right. Yeah, you've made real world connections with people at this
Oh
point,
yeah.
especially with the consistently going back to FanFest.
Oh yeah.
So that makes it so you've got a real life connection, which is another layer that Eve has, like you said, especially
Exactly.
with these Eve meetups. Like, yeah, you make some really good like friends with people that outside of Eve you're meeting up with them to go hang out and talk and stuff like that, and it's kind of crazy. Like, I've made some really good friends, and a lot of the funny thing is that a lot of the friends that I've made still go to a lot of these meetups and stuff like that, but don't really play Eve as much anymore or at all. You know, like,
I'm completely the same in that regard. Like I still have a heart to actually, like, I would want to play it. The thing is that I don't have the time currently to play it as I want to play it, so I'll just follow it. And I know there will be a time that I'll just pick up the gauntlet again and have at it. I've done so in the past as well. So I did make a brief comeback after my burnout. As we were chatting beforehand, you know this. So I started streaming EVE Online, where I was just a solo player and just saying like, look, I'm starting out a new character. What can I do? How can I make my money? What does work? What does not work? So I did my belt ratting then. I did some mission running then, just purely as an example of a low alpha player. Like, what can you do? How can you evolve that? So and then I went into exploration, into scanning and side scanning. And my most amazing adventure that I had in that period, or that it still gives me the chills if I think about it. So my favorite area to go to do some scanning was CVA space, because they were like, we don't care about neutrals. Like, if you're neutral, you're welcome to hang out. We won't shoot you. So basically, it's kind of low sec within null sec, because they don't really go after you. And,
but then there's the people that you don't know if they're actually, they might be a pirate or whatever, but you don't have them marked as red. But they did have that crazy list that you could look people up, and because in game it was hard to track that, but they had an out of game thing that you could just take somebody's name, put it in. Because I spent some time.
I didn't use those tools.
Oh, okay.
I just assumed everybody was bad, and that was for good reason.
That's a good thing to do. Yep.
So I remember this one day, I was flying a 6 or 7 million frigate, like just standard exploring frigate. Because if you explore and you open those caches, the stuff that comes out of it is not that big. You can haul a lot of it in a small ship. Like, and I got chased in CVA space. Went to a bookmark of a wormhole that I found, jumped into the wormhole, scanned another, jumped through, and I was gone. I knew the other guys couldn't find me back now, because I wasn't even in the wormhole space anymore. I was gone to one of the other exits. And as I was starting to scan down everything over there, I'm seeing there's some exits over here, there's some points. I see there's a lot of data sites, and I found myself in a C2, and nobody seemed to be around. So I started to run the sites over there, and I think I looted about 600, 700 million ISK worth of stuff. As I was doing that, I got dropped on. I was full panic mode, burning away, and he had a point, and I don't know what was happening exactly. And I think the VOD is still up on my Twitch channel. So I somehow get away from this guy. My frigate isn't dead, and I jumped to some random exit. I just jumped the fuck out, and I find myself in nullsec space. and I'm looking at my route to go back to high sec. Like I've got 800 million ISK in my hull. I need to get back to Jira and sell off this hull. Like
right,
this is,
yeah.
like I'm a noob character, but look, this is how you can make $1 billion ISK by doing some random shit like I've been doing today. But we need to get out of here first. And as I was watching on Dotlan, Pandemic Legion was actually the owner of the space I was in, so I knew they've got Intel channels up and running. So the moment they see my name pop up, they'll be going and look for me. So I start burning as soon as I can because I wanted to get into low sec as soon as possible out of null, because this is just owned null sec space, not CVA space.
Did you have a cloak?
No, this was a low entry level frigate. I tell you.
Wow, okay.
My whole fit.
So bubbles are gonna screw you real bad at this point.
That was, my fit was a 7 million ISK, including the hull. So that's what I was flying. So I was just burning as I could, as fast as I could. Apparently, I actually went through a Pandemic Horde staging system. So a group of about 5-6 people were chasing me, and I noticed, because I have this little fast frigate, my align time is just a wee bit faster than they are, and so I actually outran them in a system with 5 gates. I just took the one I needed to have, and they didn't see me jump off of the entry gate, so they didn't know which direction I went to, because they got more and more delayed.
Yep, chasing is hard, man. Chasing is hard, actually. It's not that easy.
I was out of it. I was like, oh.
You got to get a bubble ahead of somebody, so.
Yeah. So now, my next problem was, okay, the next jump will take me from null sec to low sec. And I don't have any bookmarks, because this is a new toon. I haven't been in this space, so I don't own a perch on top of the gate to like safely go on top, see if there's no bubbles, and otherwise get the hell out real fast. So since I didn't have that, I just went for it. So I went for it. There was no bubble. Got into low sec. Still stressed out. I had like 3 or 4 jumps in low sec to do, and then I made it into high sec, and that concluded my, I think it was a 3 or 4 hour stream at that point, and that was so fun.
Oh yeah, dude, that sounds like a blast.
I had a toon that had basically no skills. I had some exploration skills, some basic gunnery skills, but nothing too fancy. I mean, an alpha toon, 2 months old, something like that. And this is the adventure that you can have. So that was really fun. And then, as I told you, my CPU died, and with that, basically my Twitch channel died with it. Because I came back for a bit, but there was no viewership, and before I had like 50, 60 people watching. So yeah, that was a sad moment, but I was like, okay.
Well, hopefully you can get it back up and running, because that's it's always good to get more streamers. I know that takes time to get built back up, but it feels like there's a little less in Twitch these days, depending on a few things.
Oh, that's possible.
Partnership also helps out quite a bit, but you have to have those pretty good, solid 40-50 people watching you all the time.
For a while before that happens. No, that's true. That is true.
But yeah, if you ever do get the Twitch channel going, just pop that over to me, and then I'll get that up on the show notes. Oh, that's so nice of you. So,
yeah, thanks.
But yeah, so it sounds like you've been going to FanFest a lot. Over the past 10 years, basically, you haven't skipped a beat if there was a beat not to skip. So I'm guessing you already have your tickets for 2000. Oh, you don't?
No,
for 2025.
Actually, for this year, I was in dubio. Like I wasn't sure if I was going to go, and I decided in August
Oh, okay.
that I would be going in September. So that's how late I actually booked it. I don't know if I'm gonna wait that long, but we have a year and a half. I mean,
Yeah,
chill.
it's not the main reason why I got in on it right away is because it's cheaper if you get it in right away.
Yeah.
Um,
No, that is true.
And so I was like, I know I'm going, so I have the money to buy the ticket, so I'm just going to buy the ticket right now. And
A lot of people do buy it and then don't end up not going.
And then there's big changes that happen in life, which there's lots of reasons why that could happen.
Yeah, and a year and a half is a long time to commit already for a week or 2 week stay in Iceland.
Right.
So you can't even book your flights yet.
Right.
That far in advance. So I'm still on the lookout. I'm gonna see what's what, and maybe I will, maybe I won't. Would be nice to do it, but on the other hand, like 2014 was my first year, so I can't do a 10th year anniversary this time around because the next session is 2025.
Yeah, that sucks too. That's a big hit.
But I do like the new cadence. Like I think 1.5 year as a cadence is nice. For once you get like springtime FanFest and fall time FanFest, which is nice because the country is different in those times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like in the spring it's a different kind of Iceland than at the end of summer, because September is end of summer rather than fall already. So that was for me a nice period to go. It was the first time that I went that late in the year. But I can tell to anyone, to any player that hasn't gone to a FanFest yet, just put it on your bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've always had it on my bucket list, and this was the first time that I went, and I am blown away. Like I couldn't believe, like, I mean, there's the presentations and stuff like that are all kind of really cool, but I've been to, I've go to Gen Con for the last like 17 years. I've been going to Gen Con every single year, and like, Gen Con's my pilgrimage. We've got a big band of buddies that I go with. Sometimes our groups like have reached like 12 people, and sometimes our groups are, still just around, like, I think the lowest we were was last year actually at 4 people, and I was like, holy shit, man, we've got really small. But there's this yearly pilgrimage that me and my buddies do in order to go to these conventions and stuff like that. There's Gen Con, we've got Gamehole Con here, so I'm very big into the conventions. I've run 40-person mega games for the World of Darkness at Gen Con.
Nice.
So I'm really into the culture of like meeting people, being a GM that like people will run up to you and be like, oh, I know you, or I've tried to get into your game, and it's always a fun time to go to these different conventions and stuff. I've been to Comic Cons and stuff like that, and it's fun times. You run it, you can kind of talk to people and stuff like that. But EVE FanFest is a whole another thing. It's because you are coming from a world that only a small group of people, comparatively to the rest of the world, actually like understand and can talk about. And the first thing you can do is walk up to almost anybody that you run into that's got an EVE Online FanFest badge, or even just looks like they're an EVE Online person. You can
and the first question,
guess.
Question is, who do you fly with?
Who do you fly with? Absolutely. Yep. That's
and then conversation started. Like, that's your conversation starter. It's easier than dating.
It's it's easier than anything. Like, it's the easiest way to make a friend. It doesn't matter who they fly for, if it's an enemy, friend, somebody you've never heard of before. Everybody's got a tale, and it just I'm a very social like human being. So I really like to sit down and just have crazy conversations with people. It's one of the reasons why I made a podcast. And it was just epic, just being able to go out, hang out, talk to people. and there was, I mean, I was at the bar most of the time, basically. Like, that was one of the things that just blew me away of, like, this was one of the cons that, like, I went to bars and hung out with people that I'd never have talked to before. Whereas I've gone to cons and stuff like that, and a lot of the times you'll go out to the bars, you'll do, like, events and run in and meet some people that you've never met before for, you know, an hour or two, maybe 10 hours or something like that, if you do, like, a long event. But this was like just 10 hours of meeting different people while hanging out at the bar, hanging out with CCP employees, Aurora, Swift, like, you know, everybody was really great. CCP Burger, all of them were really fun to sit down, chat with, and talk about all of the stuff that was going on.
That's also part of the company culture, that those people are always very approachable and they're very open. Even though some people can get carried away a little bit, there's never a bad word that comes out of their mouth. So for me, in 2013, 2014, I mean, the highlights were the unveiling of the monument, which was then brand new, and the Tweet Fleet meet. That was still a meet, and that was in the Celtic Cross. It's a bar that's no longer in existence in Reykjavik. It closed down a long time ago. I think actually the year after it got closed down. That's how I actually met General Stargazer, who's now also known as CCP Zealous. And I remember that after that first year, so in 2015, we had the player versus devs soccer match, because you're American, I'll say soccer instead of football, which was a disaster for the players. And I think I was the only person on the team that actually played the game.
Well, they actually play there a lot, right? Like they play with the president of Iceland, right? I think it's one of the things that that's like a thing that just happens all the time for them.
Well, Icelandic people are very sportive, and so
go and touch grass.
Always, like they do a lot of sports, and soccer is one of the more prevalent sports that they play. So yeah, that was a debacle, but it was fun. Like that's how I met several devs, like and combine that with the EFTV presenter thing that I did. I got close to several people, and just year after year it kind of built up. And one year, I think it was 17, in 2016 or 17, General Stargazer wasn't able to make it to FanFest. And since he was the guy doing the Tweet Fleet meet, there would not be a Tweet Fleet meet because he couldn't make it. So at that point, I just reached out to him, and I was like, "Yeah, look, tell me what to do. Like, I want to be able to carry on the tradition. We can't have a FanFest without the Tweet Fleet meet, because basically the Tweet Fleet meet is the unofficial pre-party. There's always a lot of CCP employees around, year after year. And a lot of people come out, like, because a lot of people arrive the day before, and that's the only thing that is actually going on right then. It's like, that's the meet, that's where you have to go. So I try to keep up the tradition. And this year I actually had a secondary location for the first time for people that got like oversensitive with the sound. So I actually went to the bar next door, so they could go into the basement there, shoot some pool and have a conversation. So they didn't have to be in the heavy party room.
Wow! So you guys, how many people are you getting to this pre-game?
About 400.
400 people. That's crazy. Like that's
the top. That's the top attendees that we had. It's
what
about
was
400.
when you first started? What did it start off? When the first time that you went to it, what do you think the number were?
I honestly don't know. The reason why I know this year is because the laws in Iceland kind of changed, and they are policing much closer how many people you let into your bar. So for this year, I know the maximum allowed amount. Well, I knew the maximum allowed amount, but I think it was around 240-ish that was allowed. And we did make that mark almost. So, and that was in the first location. The other location, I didn't have the time to go there, but Zealous stayed there. It wasn't that much, but it was fun. So, and the thing in Iceland as well is that on a weekday, all the bars close at 1 a.m. because that's the law. So Friday, Saturday, and national holidays, then the bars close at 5 a.m. The last bar closed at 5 a.m. So they close between 4 and 5-ish. And then you go for a bite to eat, and then you go to bed. So that's how I do FanFest. So it's not for everyone, but being such a social animal, I'm always out late and up early. So it's one of the other things that I've been doing for a couple of years now as well, is the morning mixers. So I'll just be at laundromat and everybody is free to join. We have our big table. The owner of the place knows me, so he sees my face when I come in the first time. It's like, oh, it's FanFest again. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Your table is free, and then I can just
that's so
sit down. And he knows people will come, and they're very, very much welcome. So that's something else that I do, and that was the reason why Convict said this year during the closing ceremony that he dubbed me he originally dubbed me the Paris Hilton of EVE Online back in 2015 when he was still a player, because I was known not for being good at the game, but just because I was known as Paris Hilton used to be. She was known because she was known. She was known. Original socialite, you know. Last year he redubbed me to the Kim Kardashian of EVE because, well, Paris actually achieved something in life and has some good businesses going on, while Kim Kardashian is still best known for having a big ass and tits. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you are sexy, so I see how.
Thank you.
There you go. So very, very good connection there. So.
Yeah. So I'm in good company. So that's kind of how I grew to be the EVE Online socialite. Just hanging out with people and getting to know them and just talking to them, and I can just very much I'd like to say that if you're not an introverted person, because you have some introverted persons, and this advice is not for you, but go out there and talk to just anyone. As you just said before, anyone with a lanyard, you just have to say this one phrase: who do you fly with? And then you can continue the conversation. Oh, where's that? Is that this area of the map or that? Oh, I haven't been there yet, but I fly around here. And then you can have whatever conversation going off on that. And it can be a long one, it can be a short one. It doesn't matter. And the next time around, you might meet him again. It's like, I haven't seen you in the game. I tried to look for you afterwards to shoot you in the face, but I couldn't find you. And then you go on with that relationship, like out of the game context.
Yeah, no, and also going up to groups I've found to be very inviting. Like, most groups weren't like, you know, just their inner circle that, you know, it was like only these people can be talking in this group. Like, so it's like you can just walk up to a group, listen about what they're talking about, and because you're talking Eve, everybody, like, it's like a language that you're able to, like, walk into and be like, I speak that language. And because you speak the language, you're an immediate accepted into the whatever group that's talking at that point in time. I found that to be just very, very inviting compared to any other, like, convention or something. Because, like, you speak comic book, but, you know, like,
do you speak my comic book?
Right. And, well, I mean, if you go to, like, even a comic book convention and you're like, oh, I know I can speak comic book and stuff like that, but it's hard to be like, you know, what comic book do you know, da-da-da. Like, Eve is a very specific language that is, it's Eve, and so it's better than any other convention I've been to when it comes to just how quickly and easily and feeling like you're just automatically going to be accepted into any group that you kind of walk up into, and that you can talk to people very openly and freely, without fear that, you know, you're a DC person. I didn't know that. It's like, oh, you're Pandemic Legion? I hate you. That's awesome. How's it going? Like, it's great to meet you in real life. I've been killing you for the last 3 years. Blah 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 blah. You know, like
that's another fun part. Like, this year I actually made flyers for the Tweet Fleet meet for the first time. So people that got their goodie bag actually got the flyer for the Tweet Fleet meet. Mm-hmm. People that were late and didn't know about the party, they actually have the flyer now, so they know next time around they have to come early. So they'll actually know there is a party. And the fun thing was that I was standing at the entrance, because I give everyone like this little sticker, you know, hello, my name is, and then you just write up your name.
Yep.
So, especially if you don't have your lanyard yet, then you can actually identify yourself. And so I had a Sharpie and those stickers, so everybody who came in got to write his name down. And I can tell with like a pretty high success rate, I can tell who's a first timer. So I look at somebody coming in, I'm like, this is your first FanFest, isn't it? They look at me like, how the hell does he know? But yeah, I have been going since 2014, so I know a lot of faces already, and if I can't place you immediately, then I'll know you're a first timer. And the first thing I tell those people at that pre-event is like, look, there's only one rule at FanFest. Nobody gives a shit who you fly with.
You're gonna be asked that a lot, but
yeah,
nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares how many times you got griefed by somebody particular. Like, it's a game, and everybody's chill. Like, I don't care if you're Goon and the other guy is PL. Nobody really cares about it. Over here, we're all Eve players, and we have fun. And that's something that I immediately tell them, so they know. Like, there's no in-game hate coming out of Eve Online into the real world, and that's the beauty of FanFest. Because, like, I find as the 7th time FanFest attendee, it's kind of my obligation to hand over that culture to people that come in for the first time. And,
I would
so
have
they
to
can
say,
carry that DNA further into the future.
I would say that it's one of the most I don't know, for me it's kind of like what gives me hope in humanity to a certain aspect of, like, it kind of opened me up to, there's a lot of hate in Eve. Let's not be, you know, shy about that there's a lot of hate in Eve that is very strong and very visceral, but it's there's a little bit that goes outside of game, and it's never physical, which is always, like, I've never heard of a physical altercation that has happened between two Eve players.
Well, I might be able to tell you a story.
Oh, really, though? So this is something that you might not hear about on the news and stuff like that. I mean, of course, I'm sure it happens, but it's very rare. Well, but I want to hear this story if you've got one.
Well, this is not a literal physical altercation per se, as in two people fisticuffs.
Right.
But of course, it's Russians that are involved in the story, but I know of an incident where two Russian blocks were facing off each other, where one person of the opponent, like let's say Team A and Team B, one person of Team A, the FC of Team B got doxxed, and one person of Team A went over to his house and cut the internet.
I've heard of this story. I've heard of that story.
I've
also heard about Death XXX. So he I was listening to the once again Eve Online or Eve Empires of Eve audiobook, and he was talking about that because of what was happening with him and Deathless had a falling out. Deathless got paid a whole bunch of money in order to allegedly stop being in one of the wars, and Deathless didn't pull out when he was told to, but he didn't get paid any money. So, but this Russian like oil baron or something like that was basically paying off people to do stuff with real life money, and he was afraid that he was gonna get killed. Like that he was gonna get assassinated because he was like, it's like $5,000 you get somebody murdered. Like that's not that hard actually. And I pissed off a guy with a lot of money, and he thinks that I stole money from him when I didn't. And so I mean, these are all possible. I mean, Death was well known for his ability to exaggerate and stuff like that. So there is some edge cases of some really crazy stuff that has happened that have gotten close to being pretty physical. But I mean, my example though would be like, to narrow it down, is that when I was at FanFest, there was no fear of a fist fight breaking out between two people. When I mean, if you go to a Packers Vikings game, talking about football, but going to like a football game, whether you're talking American football or what we call soccer, but like at any of these sporting events, they're like, it's almost like guaranteed you're gonna get one fist fight out of these guys. Like, I mean, maybe not necessarily, but it feels like
there have been times. There's
I mean, massive riots that happen after game wins. Like, I won, great, let's go ahead and trash the entire city. And possible fights between opposing teams and stuff like that. Eve though we don't have that. The vitriol. There might be enough hatred for you to be like, I won't even fucking talk to that guy. Like, fuck that guy. I've seen him, I've talked to him a bunch, and he's just a complete dick, and it just is not fun to talk to that person. But there isn't even with the gang mentality. I mean, back in the day, they used to call fleets gangs. It was because it was like this gang pack mentality that you can kind of get into with Eve. It just breaks immediately upon meeting somebody in the real world. Like Corvus, I had never met in the real world. I've talked to him on Twitch and stuff like that, seen that he was on Twitch, and to meet Corvus in real life, it was like, this is awesome. Like I also play in a form of, like, if you really hate the Kaldari, like if you're truthfully like, I won't talk to them in real life because they're a Kaldari, I think you need to take a seat back and just be like,
yes,
it's this is the lowest level of why do we hate each other, because you're red and I'm blue. But when if I'm from your perspective, I'm red, you're blue. So that the only reason why we're shooting each other is because of that. Like is
like a good example, like Julianus Soder from Galmil fame. He used to have these amazing parties. Among other people present there, being all the Galmil people that were at FanFest, those were automatically invited. You had the people of EVNT coming around, and myself being the socialite. But I've known Alec, the Mitani, to be present there as well, together with other people, and they had some vivid discussions, sure, but it was fun. Like,
there is, when you take it to like the level of like faction warfare is at like the lowest political arena that's easy to get into, I think. And then there's like 0.0 that it is, you kind of hate the person because they took your fucking space. They blew up 500 billion ISK worth of your shit, yesterday.
But so that's the thing. It feels that way for the line member.
Right. But it's a little bit different from
it's completely different, because on leadership level, it's actually FanFest used to be the place where the next big war was decided.
Right. Yep, that makes sense.
Among leadership. That's where the magic happened. Like, you have FanFest, so leadership of PL present, leadership of Goons present, leadership of Test present. Like, all the huge blocks that were on the map.
Yeah, back when Bob was around, Bob was very present at the FanFest. And
that was pre my date.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't seen. I've seen one guy who was who claimed to have been part of Bob, and
I had somebody that I met at FanFest that said the same thing. That they were. I think that they're part of NC Dot right now, if I remember correctly.
They kind of split up as far as
that's basically where. Yeah, it's Bob is basically transformed into, or a lot of the people that were in Bob are now in PL and NC Dot, from my understanding.
Yeah. So, but that's where it happens. That's where the wars get decided. So for leadership, it's they don't hate the other side. They talk to the other side.
Right. They want them to be the other side. You need to have.
Yeah, you need to have a target, and like this is actually a part of the brilliance of the Mitani, because he made the Goons the biggest target. And why is that? Because fights will come to him. Why? Because everybody thinks he's the biggest asshole on the planet, and he so happens to be the leader of the Goons.
Yeah, he was playing a villain. Like his character was very much a villain, and hanging out with him, he wasn't in real life. He's not a villain, but
he's not a villain. But he loves to be vilified by the rest of the community, because within the Goons, nobody saw him as a villain. No, so that's the master. That's the mastery that he had and that he presented. Like, he created this whole us versus them, and he's a master puppeteer. Like, he played in on the emotions of the people under him, and he has this. He knows how to manage a large group and the sentiment within that group, and he genuinely cares for his group.
Yes. Very much.
He calls them my family. Like, if you come after one of our guys, I'll go fuck your shit up. Like, don't care. I will just do that. I don't care who you are, or how big you pretend to be in the game. I will fuck your shit up because you wronged one line member. He would do that. So, and that's why he got, to some extent, he got glorified within his own ranks, and because of the things he says, like he's got an arrogant alter ego or persona that he presents to the world, so that makes him easy to hate for everybody else who's not within his group.
Yep.
And he did that so masterfully, and it has given EVE Online so much content.
Oh yeah, no, and like Unholy says, the Mintani was the embodiment of the statement "the Emperor protects." So he was a hero to the goons and a villain to everyone else. Exactly, and he's gone on record saying that he, one of the things was that after his ban at FanFest for saying because he went out, he basically said some stuff, told the player basically to kill themselves.
I know exactly. I know exactly what happened.
And
that thing, like the repercussions, I think, were out of line with other stuff that happened. There have been far worse things said and done during such sessions before. But that year, there were a bunch of Sony executives running around because Dust 514 was coming.
Yep.
So that's why the backlash of that incident was so much greater than what anyone suspected.
And he survived it actually pretty well in the end. Like, it was
sure.
I mean, that was not the downfall of Mintani. The downfall came much later. But it's like that's happening right now in the book that I'm listening to.
Okay.
And so it's like right on when talking about this, it came up because one of the concepts that he talked about though was when he was doing that, it was from a villain in character point of view that he understands was horrible. He's like, if I could go back and take that out, I would. Like, that was that was a dumb fucking thing for me to do. I shouldn't have berated this character and tried to get people to also berate him, and that this had gone too far into affecting somebody in the real world than just trying to affect them in game and like, you know, people get ganked all the time in game, but like to call out a specific person when you're at that level of power, to be like, thousands of people go harass this one person and you have that power, can be very dangerous. And so but he said that like one of the big things that sticks out for me is that he does play a villain in game. Like, that's what his whole persona, his whole concept of like, he wanted to be the villain to most people, and that he would, for his group, be the emperor, be the badass that is fighting for his people and will be a dick to everybody but his family. And I understand that character very well. That's a really interesting character to play. It's very different than how Mintani is in the real world. They're very different characters, and he is role playing. One of the things that I find very interesting about Eve is that almost everybody I feel like that plays Eve role plays in Eve, regardless of whether they think they're role playing or not. Like, there are some people that I will say definitely don't do any kind of role playing at all, but these are people who not chatting, they're not actually getting on TeamSpeak and doing stuff, but you become a different person when you play Eve, when you're interacting with the community.
The thing is that since EVE Online starts off pretty anonymously, like your Twitter account, nobody really knows who's behind the Twitter account. So the thing is that that's how it starts out. So you can become who you want at the start, and that character can then evolve, because pretty soon when you're at corp level, you're already into comms and actually talking to people. And so some people keep up the mask, other people take it off. And I've never been one to actually present myself as somebody else than who I'm actually am, because I never felt the need to play a certain character to, I think that for some people it's something that they need because they're very introvert, and if they play an extrovert in their online community, then they can feel better about themselves being a little bit more extrovert, and you got to know some people. But in the end, for me personally, I never doused the role. I just was who I was, said who, and I'm still like that. I always say what I think, and it has gotten me in plenty of trouble in the past. It will get me in trouble in the future probably, but yeah, basically what you see is what you get, and yeah, some people like it and some people don't, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So I've come to terms with that, and I think a lot of people are not at that point in their life where they are okay with just not being liked by everybody. I feel there's societally there's a lot of pressure on people to be popular.
This is true. This is true.
Why else do you have Instagram? Why else have you so many people who don't feel good about their own body because they scan Facebook and Instagram and all the other bullshit platforms constantly? They get confronted with good-looking people having the best time of their lives, not seeing all the shit that they went through or all the fake that's been posted. So I think more and more people have trouble just accepting themselves currently.
That's a good point. That is it's an interesting time that we live in, that technology has really allowed ourselves to be to understand things much deeper, but then to also get us lost in something that has nothing to do with understanding ourselves and losing ourselves in something else. And yeah, it's but I find that Eve I just find it really interesting how much, because I'm a big role player. Like I like playing Dungeons and Dragons, Vampire the Masquerade, stuff like that. And you know, this is where like Unholy says, like, you know, been in a lot of MMORPGs, and being the villain can actually cause people to rise up their level if you remember not to push them too hard. And you know, really it allows for somebody to be something, you know, it's so interesting in Eve is that you can be the bad guy, that you can be just jumping into the game and interacting with people on you know, just by meeting them in local and stuff like that. Like there's like an ability to role play in Eve like no other, that is just, you just drop into it without even thinking about it, I think. And I really enjoy the concepts of different things that are out there, and how, you know, the different crazy stories that we kind of make up in this entire weird universe that we're part of. So going back to FanFest, was there anything special about this year's FanFest?
What was my takeaway? For me, this was the return to the actual FanFest feel, because last year felt like a botched job, which I told my many friends at CCP Games as well. It was rushed. It was poorly delivered. They under-delivered. All in all, it was a bad experience. Like 2022 is a FanFest that I basically already forgot. This year, the level was actually back where it had to be, and it was the biggest FanFest in the 10 years that I've been attending FanFests. So a huge uptick in people coming, and I predict that next FanFests in like this and the coming 6 years, which is basically 4 editions now, because we're on a 1.5 year cadence.
Mm-hmm.
I think attendance will drop a bit, I don't think they'll sell out in the next 4 years, like 4 editions, as they did now. Because as for me, 2014 was the special one because the statue was actually unveiled for the first time. This year was also
The second
a
unveiling.
decade, the end of the decade, and another unveiling, refurbished monument, like another nice speech of the mayor of Reykjavik. So I think that actually bloated the numbers a little bit. I am very happy that FanFest will be returning to Harpa, because the location is much more central and
I'm looking
much
forward
more
to that.
futuristic. I don't know if you visited the Harpa while you were in Reykjavik.
No, I didn't.
This year.
So
You didn't. That's a missed opportunity, but you'll get there.
well, I'll get
in
there next year.
2025.
So or, yeah, 2025. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So I was very happy with the general atmosphere, like within the players that were attending, because I've been there so many times, and I'm not really actively playing. So for me, the content was I thought it was cool. It was a great trailer, a great presentations, but I did go around and ask people like, what was your idea of FanFest? Like what do you think of everything? What did you like? And generally speaking, I got great feedback from a lot of those people. So I think they hit the nail on the head, and yeah, I'm looking forward already to 2025.
Yeah, would you say that this year? So I mean, so there's some weird stuff that happened with last FanFest, and I kind of just want to go over some of the things that, from my perspective. So I didn't actually get to go to FanFest, but the presentation. One thing I want to ask real quick though, before I jump into that, is that would you say that it was more of the presentation and the what was coming out and some of the things that had like price and stuff like that going up that has affected how low last year's FanFest was compared to this year's, or was it also like the events that they were throwing and the amount of people that went and stuff like that? What do you think was COVID like a factor more last year than this year, something like that?
This year, COVID was not a factor. I did see some people wearing masks who did it preemptively. Last year, there was a huge breakout of COVID. Like, a lot of people were unable to return home, actually. And I'm looking at people from the United States, because in Europe, it wasn't... Yeah, it was after FanFest.
After FanFest this year, it definitely, a lot of people got hit really bad.
Last year. This year it was okay. Like, people got like the Icelandic death flu, but that's something that you always have. I mean,
that's true.
Like prior to
all cons are really well known for their ability to get sick. Like, I mean, you're going out and meeting thousands of people, especially something that's worldwide. Like,
exactly.
You know, the death flu is the con crud, as is what we call it normally. Is like just every con I've ever gone to. It's like you got the con crud afterwards. Actually, like, wearing masks is one of the big ones that stopped that from happening for like 2 years with going to Gen Con. Was like, oh, I actually didn't get the con crud this time. But
well, I went, I didn't get sick, I didn't mask up or anything. Like, and the year before, like in 2022, I actually had Corona about a month prior, so I was immune. So I didn't get it.
Yeah.
A lot of other people did get it, which was unfortunate for them. But even before Corona was a thing, like, the Icelandic death flu is a FanFest classic. You have, and it's normal, you have people coming from literally all over the world. You've got people coming from Australia, from South America, from the States, from all over Europe. congregating in small spaces in bars, drinking beers and hanging out, hugging it out, talking loud, and some people.
So do you think though that like last year though was heavily affected by what they announced as well?
Yeah.
Or was it like just the general atmosphere in general?
The thing was, one, it was more expensive than before. Then, additionally, you didn't have the cool venue, and the venue was actually like how they plotted out the venue this year was a lot better than last year. So they did improve upon the whole setup. Then, thirdly, the content just wasn't there in 2022.
Well, they also said it. So in 2022, they were talking about like how they were going to come out with something at the end of this year. You know, like they were like a lot of
and
it
they
was
didn't
like,
deliver.
They didn't. They were so they said. First of all, they were like, FanFest is going to be the biggest. We're going to have the biggest announcements of changes that are going to be coming to EVE, and you know, like this is going to be the craziest FanFest ever. And then when it got to FanFest, and they were like, we're changing Faction Warfare at the end of the year, so in 7 to 8 months, you're going to see some of the stuff that we're putting out here. It felt like that was a really rough. Like thing for people to swallow at that time was that everything being announced here is not going to come out for a really long time, whereas this one was like, so in 2 months you're gonna see pirate
Next
faction warfare. And
exactly.
And I do have to say though that how they announced it, announcing it along with like the $20 price hike was just really hard pills to swallow. It's going to take a really long time for you to see anything we're talking about. There's $20 price hike because of what we're talking about. There's also rumors of, this first-person shooter that's kind of going on. And, everybody was just kind of freaking out. I think, though, that they have proven over the last year that they did follow through with almost everything they talked about at FanFest last year. And it did come about with some really great changes to EVE, I think. And I mean, of course, I'm coming from a faction warfare point of view.
And there was a lot of emphasis there.
And that was huge. Like, the whole thing was about faction warfare, which also kind of pissed some people off, actually.
Yeah, because everybody wants some cake.
Right.
That's just it. But I think that... the first good decision that they made last year's FanFest was to have a gap that was 6 months longer than what they usually have. So they had more time to prepare, and that time was actually necessary. The features they are trying to bang out are of such a magnitude that they actually need a year to develop them. Then they need time to polish them and just look at what are we going to release and when are we going to release it, and need to package them. And so they need the time to actually prepare the actual event as well. And they nailed it this time around, where last year was a lot of last minute calls were made, and it just didn't come over well prepared. It didn't come over well thought out. And this is feedback that obviously I already gave people at that time. And you can say what you want, but they really did deliver this year around. This year FanFest in September was amazing. It was well organized, and again, they were helped by Grey Gals and her club of minions that make sure that goodie bags are filled, that everybody gets their lanyards and goodie bags before the actual event, and they run around running on the actual event, doing the checks, doing all the charity stuff that they do. So that's amazing. The effort that they put in there is great as well. So I did help one day, but that's just a pebble in the lake, basically. So that was just I did help this year with the filling of the goodie bags a little bit.
Oh, nice, cool. Thank you.
I had the time, so why not? So, but I must say, if last year was a 3, this year we got a solid 8.
Oh, swat! Yeah, I would say.
And that is the difference between 2022 and 2023.
Nice. So
in my opinion,
it sounds like so it was like overall just everything was just like better than. What about the events? Was there any cool events that happened in 2000? Like any thing special that they had last year that they didn't have this year that you'd like to return?
What I did find now is a couple of things were a bit over organized. I think it's great for first timers though. Like I am a fan of the LAN. I wasn't there myself, but I've heard a lot of good things. I think that's something that they should continue to do. But organizing a Northern Lights view when you know there's a huge ass player run event every year, that was, well, since I'm organizing it, I found that not so cool, because those people are just back at around 1 a.m. Some of them would have liked to come to the party, but they just couldn't make it. So that's a bit, it's like, how much do you need to foresee? So I did, the Northern Lights were awesome. The good thing is you could actually see them in Reykjavik as well.
Yes, yeah,
you didn't have to go. Yeah,
I was at the bar. I just took a picture. It was really great.
Yeah, there's like the 2 days that they organized the tours, you could actually see it downtown, which was great. Pub crawl was good this year. I really liked the reformat of it. I can tell you that pub crawl used to be organized a little bit different. They try to change up things every now and then, but how they did it this time around was superb.
Yeah, I got the impression that I was at the pub crawl and I thought it was really well done. It was my first time, but a lot of people were like, yeah, I really like it the way that they're doing it this year.
Yeah, so this year I actually had a pub crawl group under me. It wasn't planned, but they were short a couple of people to accompany some groups, because if you're underage, you're not allowed in the bar, so you can't tell people that it's time to go to the next bar. So some of the volunteers were underage and were not allowed to do the pub crawl because of the law in Iceland. Like you're I think it's the same as in the US. You have to be 20 or 21 in Iceland before you're allowed to buy a beer. So what we did this time around is we got 2 bars and the end venue. So you walk up to one bar, have some drinks, have some talks, walk to the other bar, have some drinks, have some talks, walk to the end venue, go in, have some drinks, and that's it. Basically, you've got a party and everybody is in a happy place already.
Right.
So not stupidly drunk, but just in a happy place. And you have a good party. Like, that was very well received. In the past, it used to be that they had a set of bars and you just hop from one bar to the other, and sometimes the previous group was still there when you were entering, and then there was this massive shift.
Oh yeah.
And then by the time you could actually buy your drink or get your drink, your group was already leaving and you had to chug it. And if you had a nice spot and you were in a good conversation, you were already interrupted to go to the next venue. we've had a year that they actually had some buses. So every group went on a bus, and then the bus ran around, basically. We went to some horse stables and stuff like that year. When was that? 2018. That's FanFest in 2018. Yeah. So, and that was all the way out of town. So that was a huge ass bus ride, and then to converge on one location, and then you had to wait an hour and a half for your drink because the end location couldn't handle so many people decently. Yeah. So as far as a pub crawl goes, I think this year was the best edition yet. Like my first pub crawl was incidentally also the last pub crawl that pub crawl groups had flags. So in the olden days, every pub crawl team had a flag, and of course, Eve Nerds being Eve Nerds, they make a competition of everything. Mm-hmm. So by the end of the evening, most flags were stolen by other teams. And in 2014, this little game got so much out of hand that at a certain point in time, a member of CCP Games got hit in the face because he didn't want to hand off the damn flag. Like, that was a bit too rowdy, and thus
that's too much.
Henceforth, the flags were killed off. So that was the last time we did flags.
Oh,
yeah,
rooted for everyone.
Yeah, basically. And on the other hand, I think it's better without those flags, anyways. So now it's more chill this way, and you get the time to actually go have a beer, and you have a beer with the CCP people from your group. So you get to go on the pub crawl. You choose the group depending on the developers that you'll get, but you get a lot of other people that choose the same developers to be around, to hang out with. So that makes that you'll have conversations with people that are probably interested in the same fields that those developers are working at. So in my group, I had Zealous Overlord. Who else? I don't remember who the other developers were in my group.
I had Aurora and
Ice Cream. I think Ice Cream was with us as well. I'm unsure.
It wasn't. Was it Convict? I think it was Convict that was also. It was Aurora and Convict, I think.
That's quite possible. But you know what? Doesn't matter who was actually on the team. Basically, it's about you choose a team because of the persons that are like the deaf people that are within that team, and that's why you go out with that group. And within the group, other people's made the same choice, so you're bound to have a good conversation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was. The pub call was really awesome. I had a lot of fun. Really glad that I was able to get in on that. And I highly suggest making sure you sign up for it. That's one of the things that, make sure you do is that if you're first time going to FanFest, make sure you check out all the different events that are going to be happening and get tickets ahead of time because they will sell out sometimes.
Yeah, so I can, from my perspective, the LAN party, first timer, great success. If you can get in on it, do it. Pub crawl, and then the actual event, and of course Tweet Fleet karaoke.
Yes, I had a lot of fun at the karaoke night. That was really awesome.
Good Kirin bar. It's been our tradition. It's actually because I was so late in deciding to actually come. So I was very late in actually planning the Tweet Fleet meet, that there actually was something else planned on the night that we wanted to have it. And the manager of the bar talked to the people that had the venue booked, because it was something that was returning, to actually move their event to a later date so we could have our event.
That's super cool of them.
Yeah, I was super grateful. So for 2025, I won't. I'll make sure to book it timely.
Yes.
So actually, I think I already booked it.
that's how it's done.
Yeah, I'm grabbing my phone real quickly. I'm opening my calendar real fast, and we'll have to go to which month? May 2025.
Yep.
Let's see what happens. October, February, March, April, May, and it is the Wednesday. And let's see. When is the actual event in May? Is that 1, 2, and 3?
I think so.
Yeah, Thursday, May 1st. Yeah, I have to double check on the dates and everything, but I actually talked to the manager already and to book it, and he said, "Yeah, it's okay. You're welcome."
Nice.
So
nice.
We know it's a go.
There we go. So I'm going to be there for sure, 100%, man.
Well, so looking forward to meeting you again there.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go ahead and we've been going here. I just realized actually I'm almost 2 hours into this interview, so things have gone quick. It feels like this has only been like 15 minutes, but I guess we've been at this for a while. It's been awesome talking to you. I wanted to make sure to give you a little bit of a extra spotlight here of if you have any shout outs that you want to give out or anything you want to promote, like the Tweet Fleet meetups that happen at FanFest. Definitely just kind of whatever you want to talk about.
Well, real quickly then, so be sure to get over at FanFest. If there's anything local to you and you haven't done any events, be sure to visit your local EVE meets. They're awesome. You get to know a lot of people. Nobody's going to hate on you for flying with a certain group of people. So just go out, have fun, get to meet the people. I hope to see you at FanFest 2025. I'll be there. I'll be organizing the Tweet Fleet meets. I'll be organizing the Flight Buddy sheet again in some form. I'm having some ideas about that. Furthermore, I do have my Twitch channel still up and running. I haven't streamed in a very long time though, so it's twitch.tv/Drechlas, DRECHLAS. So if you can give me a follow, that'd be much appreciated. And I'd like to tell you, thank you, Frozen, for the interview and the good time that we had in the past 2 hours. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. It was great meeting you at FanFest. I look forward to another 10, 20, 30, 50, 100,000 years of seeing you again at FanFest and maybe other local meetups and stuff like that. I'm planning on trying to be a little bit more adventurous in my life as I get older, and I'm like, yeah, I should go to Europe more and go to some more FanFest adjacent activities for EVE, because I've had a lot of fun with meeting up with people and going to a lot of these really cool meetups. So speaking of meetups, we have, since FanFest isn't going to be around next year, I'm running an event here in Madison, Wisconsin, that we're going to be doing a meetup for a barcade that serves pizza, beer, and arcade games, fed by the good old quarter. There's a lot of fun that we're looking forward to doing on that in 2024. So there might not be FanFest, but on May 4th, and May the 4th be with us with this event, we are going to be running an EVE Online meetup as well. So we're really excited about that. Noir, Network, Hungry, the Federation Frontline Report is all teaming up together to try and kick that off here. And then we're also going to be doing more meetups. There's other plans. I know there's a lot of EVE players in this general area, which is really kind of crazy. And you'll probably, like locally, no matter where you are, if you go digging a little bit, you probably all of a sudden there's like a bunch of EVE players pop up around you. And they're all very passionate about the game. So that's what makes these EVE Online meetups really fun.
That's true. I once did a meetup in Antwerp, Belgium, and I met the guy who actually had the snuff flag that had hung at CCP HQ.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
That particular flag is in Belgium still to this day, as far as I know.
So it's hard to see, but there's a little like poster behind me here that is actually the southeast southeast of the galactic map that a guy had laminated, and he was using during the First Great War, if I want to say correctly, because this was probably 2005 when I ran into this person, 2006.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so it would have been 2006 actually. So I'd just gotten into EVE and stuff. And so he gave this, it was a Goonswarm FC who was like, I have like this crazy poster, like, this is, like, I don't play anymore, and it sounds like you are just getting into the game and stuff like that. And
that's so
maybe
fun.
It was 2007. But yeah, it was probably 2007. And yeah, it was like, just out of the blue, like I had just started kind of playing the game and stuff like this, and somebody, like gave me this like crazy board or like thing. It was like, this is my map that I've created out of EVE. Like, I use this for coordinating fleets and stuff. But yeah, there's this so like meeting. It's just, you can randomly run into people at the fucking coffee shop, and all of a sudden, like, you hear something EVE related, and you're like, what?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
But yeah, and also definitely check out, there's lots of other really great podcasts out there. I highly suggest checking out Declarations of War. That's run by Noir, and we're part of the network with them in our mercenary alliance. And if you've got any contracts and stuff that you need a mercenary organization to go do, protect maybe your Aster house in a wormhole, or need to blow up somebody's Aster house in low sec, or 0.0, just give us a call. We'll go out and take a look and see what we can provide for you. But yeah, and if you're interested in flying around with us in EVE Online, you can just check us on out at with the Federation Frontline Report, and that's our corporation that we've designed. We also have our training alliance that we created, which was so we're part of the network, but we also have a training organization, the Federation Frontline Alliance, that we created. So lots of cool stuff going on, lots of training opportunities and stuff. So thank you so much for coming on to the show here. It's been really great. Thank you all for watching, and have a great night.
Thank you.